Tonight on CTV News, it's not enough. Uninsured homeowners demand more cash from the government. Will the Christchurch City Council sell more shares in some of its underperforming assets? And another international airline set to fly more passengers to Christchurch.
Broadcasting across Canterbury, from the CTV studio, this is First at 5.
Good evening. It's simply not enough. Owners of uninsured homes red-zoned following the quakes have rejected the Crown's latest compensation offer, saying 80% of land value is simply unacceptable and they'll go back to court if they have to. Here's Chelsea Daniels.
Sarah announced today that they have re-evaluated their offer for all uninsured red zone properties. The 50% offer made earlier this year has been scratched and raised to 80% after public outcry. The 26 homeowners in this category took the matter to the Supreme Court, who ruled that the government must reconsider their compensation offer. Despite the change of offer, homeowners are still unhappy with the proposed deal, as it doesn't provide any payment for the value of improvements on those properties.
It is an improvement from 2012 offers that were proposed, but it's still not good enough, unfortunately. It sounds like we will be going back to court. Grant
Cameron, solicitor for the Quake Outcasts group, said today, "Our residential homeowners have had to suffer appalling circumstances in consequence of the Crown's attempt to take their land for next to no value. Unfortunately, today's decision reflects both a disregard for those persons' welfare and for the Supreme Court judgment." CanCern spokesperson Leanne Curtis agrees that 80% is too low an offer for the land value, but is sceptical of the owners pushing for more money for their uninsured properties.
I think they're justifying the 80% offer on land value as we're giving you most of it. But this is a reflection of your insurance status. Well, the fact that they won't get any money on their house, on their dwelling, that's the reflection on their insurance status. I think it's just a bit stupid.
She says that the payouts should stop with the land value, as there are consequences for not insuring your property.
That won't necessarily make everybody happy, but I think that there is a certain, you can certainly justify, or the Crown can justify why they chose to not pay anything on the dwelling itself, because it was uninsured. If you were to lose it in a fire, you wouldn't get your house back.
David Lawson-Miller, spokesperson for the Quake Outcast group, disagrees, certain that if the shoe was on the other foot, he wouldn't mind his uninsured neighbours getting the same payout as him.
There is a right and wrong situation here. If the uninsured person gets as much as an insured person, well, fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I know I'm harping back to the same old point again. Fact is, the government wants your property, and if they want your property, then they must pay for it. That's just the way it is.
The draft plan is open to public comment and the Minister's decision is expected by the end of the month. Cameron anticipates that the 26 Quake Outcasts that own vacant and uninsured commercial properties might accept the Crown's new offer. They would now be in line to receive 100% of their 2007-2008 land value. Chelsea Daniels, CTV News.
The CDHB says there's no longer a risk of Legionella in the city. It's been a month since an outbreak occurred in the Hillsborough industrial area, putting 6 people in hospital. But health authorities say there hasn't been another outbreak since, and they're confident the strain has completely disappeared. An old footbridge across the Heathcote River sparked an unusual debate at Council today, but with a newer bridge within walking distance, the Council believes the demolition of the old one is unlikely to upset local residents.
Another bridge bites the dust, but it wasn't an easy decision for the Christchurch City Council today, who voted to demolish the nearly 55-year-old bridge in Woolston. Known as the Catherine Street or Radley footbridge, the structure has sat broken and buckled for nearly 5 years due to the earthquakes. It was built back in the early 60s, located at a confluence of waterways in the Heathcote River. However, since the Canterbury quakes, the walkway has been closed to the public due to extensive damage, causing parts of the bridge to move out of place.
What we're advising, you've got a bridge 35 seconds away. Basically, it wouldn't be built, as we've said, if the other bridge had been in place at the time that this was built. It is severely damaged. We want to try and get on with the program to try and get the city back into some normality, and some we feel have got more strategic importance than others.
Earlier this month, Council were informed about the proposed removal or repair of the Woolston Bridge, looking at the possibility of replacing it, but the price was excessive. It's not the only bridge in the area. Just a short walk, less than 100 metres downstream from the soon-to-be demolished structure, stands a more modern footwalk, built 2 decades later in the 80s. And Tim Scandred believes it's a no-brainer that the earthquake-damaged bridge should go.
If this were in my ward and I had 2 bridges 35 seconds apart in the situation that we're in and to move forward, there would be no question that I would be more than happy for this bridge to go, and I would be telling my community that.
However, Hagley Ferrymead councillor Yanni Johansson says nothing's been done to inform the public, wanting a consultation on the damaged bridge, an extra cost to the council.
For the local residents that live in this area, they have no knowledge of what this proposal is and have had no chance to give their views. I know you've said that it's not significant, but if you look at places like Medway Bridge, for example, if you look at some of the Helmore's Lane is another one, the community have expected to be involved and they have been able to, but not in this particular case.
The cash-strapped local body had 4 options to go by from a skirt report back in November last year, with removing the bridge noted as being the preferred choice, which will now go ahead. So here were the numbers. Demolishing the footbridge would cost just over $141,000 and it will be removed in the near future. Other options included a few touch-ups of the existing timber piles, costing over $500,000 to repair, but it would only have a lifespan of 10 years and still be subjected to earthquake risk. Repairing the bridge to pre-earthquake standards would be slightly more expensive at around $600,000 to repair the timber piles and would have a simplified design, but still at a risk through an earthquake. And the most expensive to fully restore the Catherine Street footbridge and bring it up to earthquake strengthening standard would cost $735,000, a price tag the council wasn't willing to pay.
In the 4 years, and I believe to council, and I don't know about to councillors, we have had no one come in have had any concerns about this bridge being closed. It just hasn't featured in a public radar.
So the footbridge will be demolished, a date not yet set when it'll be gone in the near future. Jared McCulloch, CTV News.
More city assets could be on the chopping block as the Christchurch City Council continues to debate how to raise money to fill that billion-dollar deficit.
The council is now more than likely going to sell assets to pay for its budget blowout. Christchurch City Councillors opposed to asset sales were outvoted yesterday in the second day of long-term plan debate. The asset sales agenda has been contentious from the start, with People's Choice councillors arguing there is a better way to pay for the city's $1.2 billion debt. They say this could be done by putting off some non-essential projects and cancelling unnecessary anchor projects. But with this week's vote, the council is likely to go ahead with asset sales to the tune of $750 million. Initially, the key asset stakeholdings in Orion, Littleton Port and Christchurch Airport were likely for the chop, but as listed strategic assets, they can't be sold without public consultation. Instead, the council also voted yesterday to take off City Care, Red Bus, Enable, Lancaster Park and Horncastle Arena from the strategic asset list, paving the way for their likely sale. Further debate will be had on asset sales in the final days of long-term plan debate later this week, but it is unsure whether or not sales of these latest assets on the block will meet the council's target. However, Linwood and Woolston residents should be pleased with council bringing forward construction of a new pool in the area by nearly 3 years. Spending on the $17.2 million pool will now begin next year and will be in addition to the planned $39 million Eastern Recreation and Sports Centre on the former Kiwi 2 Park site. The long-term debate continues tomorrow.
And still to come here on CTV News, the council delays a smoking bylaw and a classic video game comes back to life. Welcome back to CTV News. Bus passengers will have to wait another 3 months until the city's bus stops become fully smoke-free. Why? Well, the council says unforeseen delays have pushed out the new bylaw to next year.
It's another step forward for the Christchurch City Council, pushing to make more areas around the city smoke-free. The local body has unanimously voted to add over 2,000 bus stops and 400 bus shelters to the list of smoke-free areas. And other council-owned facilities will also ban smoking, including civic buildings, libraries and recreational centres. But it'll take longer than expected for council staff to get the signage up and things in place.
They believe it's impractical to get signage throughout all our buildings by October 2015. They're happy to start, but obviously we've got a large number of buildings.
In the original plan, it was due to be rolled out in October this year, but the council needs up to 3 months to get the job done. Back in 2009, the council approved plans to make a number of public-owned areas free from smoking, including parks, playgrounds and sports fields. Over the last 12 months, a joint strategy group between the Christchurch City Council, the Canterbury District Health Board and Cancer Society have worked to add more places to the current policy, with all councillors agreeing with the move.
I know personally when you're going with the kids to sports and other places, it's self-regulating, it's moral if you like, and it's a really good way to go forward.
However, the Worcester Boulevard entrance to the building of the Christchurch City Council is blind to signage of the ban due to an outdoor dining area at a cafe nearby.
The issue is that there is a separate lease agreement with the cafe by Ngāi Tahu, which means that we can't impose a restriction on in a reasonable area around the cafe.
But for now, it's all go from here.
This rolled out as quickly as possible. It would be nice to get it all out before the summer season starts, particularly for a lot of those facilities, so we can target those as well to make sure that perhaps where there are facilities that are going to have a high summer use, we get to those earlier. So we can certainly take on board that you want it done as quickly as possible and communicate that to the facilities guys.
The new areas will be smoke-free by January next year, a goal to reach a smoke-free New Zealand by 2025. Jared McCulloch, CTV News.
They're video games and they're classics too, and now they're being given a whole new lease of life to children at Christchurch Hospital. Here's Chelsea Daniels.
The Children's Haematology Oncology Centre have received a one-of-a-kind gift. The homemade retro arcade game is made from recycled components and donated by staff from medical physics and bioengineering and clinical engineering. The software and electronics were made by Lawrence Quake.
My duration working in the hospital is always with seeing children and stuff and seeing that they're playing with the blocks and stuff. We thought maybe it's something that can keep on going. So we thought, why not build something like a little game arcade to bring them a little bit of nostalgia for the parents and for the children themselves to keep on playing and it can keep the interaction going.
7-year-old Deanna has been at the hospital for 6 months now, and with another 5 months of treatment to go, she'll be in need of a bit of a distraction.
There's only so much a kid can do with the nurses anyway. So I think having a game to play and challenge other kids, it kind of brings them together, you know. So that's going to be exciting.
The software consists of hundreds of classics 80s and 90s arcade games that were made in a simpler time.
Having a look around the child oncology, we saw that they have all this PlayStation 4, which we, after checking with the manager, we found that the games are a little bit over for the kids and they don't really borrow the games from the manager. So I thought maybe we go backward in time and try to give them something easier and something that parents can relate to the children to.
And DJ agrees.
Even saying, oh, we remember those games, it kind of creates that kind of, oh, wow, really? How did you feel when you used to play them?
The arcade game setup is portable, which makes it easier to share among the kids, even the ones in isolation. It gives the children something interactive to keep their spirits up.
So it'll actually get their focus off and just be able to relax and chill out.
And in young Deanna's case, it seems to be working a treat.
She's a kid that loves to have challenges and beat them. I mean, she beat cancer, so, you know.
Chelsea Daniels, CTV News.
Another international airline will fly thousands of passengers to Christchurch over summer, and the Christchurch International Airport says it can't come soon enough.
Just days after Singapore Airlines announced an increase in Christchurch flights over summer, China Airlines has done the same. The Taiwanese airline is adding 40,000 more seats a year and doubling its flights to 6 a week over an extended season from summer. China Airlines has added the new Taipei-Melbourne-Christchurch route following considerable demand for its stopover route through Sydney last summer. The airline says the demand comes from both increases in Asian tourists to the South Island and trans-Tasman travellers. Christchurch Airport says the new routes will also cater for more regional and niche freight opportunities across the South Island. On Monday, Singapore Airlines announced an increase of 7,000 more seats between Christchurch and Singapore. There was considerable lobbying from Canterbury stakeholders when Air New Zealand stopped its long-haul flights out of Christchurch in March. Although they have not been reinstated, commentators said more flights to the city were more likely to come from Asian airline companies.
And still to come here on CTV News, the business Roundup with Warren Head and the region's forecast. Welcome back to CTV News. Warren Head is standing by with this week's Business Roundup.
I'm Warren Head from headliner.co.nz. While our city councillors are debating this week as to what they might sell to try and contribute their part of the cost of the major projects in the city, and what a debate that's turning out to be as well, with all sorts of things on the asset sale potential list. Well, let them move on with that. A lot of people are very much more worried about their personal assets, and some people don't have as much as they'd like at the moment and are renting. And so the interesting thing of the week is always, about this time of the month, what Trade Me says about what the cost is of renting. Well, the national high sticks, of course, back up in the Auckland area, where the median asking rent price this week is $490. And that can be compared with a 3-bedroom house up there in Auckland in May at $550 a week. So pretty stiff, isn't it, up there? Well, down here in Christchurch, the median asking rent price has declined a little bit in May from $450 a week to $440 a week. Doesn't make you much happier, does it? And the asking rents for 3 to 4 bedroom properties unchanged at $490 a week. Median asking price for a 1 to 2 bedroom home, this is where a lot of people are heavily impacted, has moved to $380 in May. That's up 8% on this time a year ago. And the asking rents for townhouses in town are down a little bit. Townhouses are up about $10 a week to $450. So that gives you a bit of a feel for the market. It's still pretty painful out there. There's been a lot of debate about whether or not Jetstar's talk about coming on to some of the regional routes will assist us here in the south. Possibly not as much as other places. They seem to be interested in more of the regions in the North Island area and always Queenstown. They're talking about competing there with Air New Zealand and stiffening things up offshore as well. Will that lead now to lower airfares? Well, I guess possibly where you've got a lot of demand coming through, yes, it probably should. Will it hurt the national carrier? Well, the analysts are mixed on that. Some people say they'll take up to $50 million hit a year. But today, Forsyth Barr, one of our big stockbroking firms, has come out with an outperform recommendation on the airline, saying it's pretty impressed with what the airline had to say yesterday about its pre-tax profit for this current year, moving up to somewhere between $520 and $530 million a year, which of course helps pay for all those magnificent new aircraft. The future looks good there too, said the airline, in terms of 2016, and Air New Zealand has shown itself to be extremely competitive when it comes to pricing on regional routes and on the international side as well. So we're in for a ding-dong of a fight there. On the personal front, there's a note in today saying that people have backed off investing in KiwiSaver since the budget took away the $1,000 handout from the Crown. And indeed, the big KiwiSaver provider ANZ Wealth has said that their enrolments since last month's decision have dropped by 50%. So it did make a difference, didn't it? After all, $1,000 from the Crown. And just to wrap on the night ahead, when you stop watching CTV at some stage, late in the night I hope, and heading for the internet, possibly you may not be encountering the slowdown that the net has been having in recent times, approaching critical points at sometimes the day, according to on demand, particularly from downloading movies out of the United States. Well, what is happening, of course, is a bit like Christchurch's roads. We're coming down from 4 lanes and suddenly down to a blocked Durham Street with 1 lane going nowhere fast. So it congests to that point as it comes down off fibre onto copper. There are about 32 of these positions around New Zealand. Most of the country is provided by one big provider called Chorus. They are trying desperately at times to keep that back end moving forward. And then you get the ISP people like Spark, which used to be called Telecom, and they provide the business that goes on from there in terms of getting the programming through. But now there's a new congestion point. These big movie providers from overseas, they like to keep the content on shore. So they're now sucking up capacity in the cloud formation warehouses around the country. It's a trend that will continue. It's a problem that's not going to go away. Look for things to get slower before they get better. Sounds a bit like Christchurch, doesn't it? I'm Warren Head for headliner.co.nz.
Thank you, Warren. Now time for the region's weather forecast.
Kia ora Canterbury. Well, the sunshine came out for most of us today, making it a pleasant but cold winter's day. Let's take a look at today's highs. Looking to Twizel, 8 degrees for you, Geraldine, Temuka, Timaru and Waimate all on 10. Heading to mid-Canterbury now, Christchurch on 10 degrees, Akaroa a little bit warmer on 11, warmer still for Darfield and Leeston 13 and 12, Ashburton 10 degrees and 9 for Methven with clouds. Heading to North Canterbury now, Kaikoura 12 degrees for you, Cheviot warmer still on 13, Rangiora also on 12 as well, and same for Culverden. Oxford on 11 for you. To the Alpines now, Lake Tekapo -2, extremely cold for you. Taking a look at tomorrow's weather though, Timaru, southwesterly winds and a few cloudy patches with rain coming through for tomorrow. 12 degrees is your high. Looking now to Ashburton, sunny skies here with southwesterlies as well. A little bit lower though on 8 degrees for your high and -2 for your morning. To the Garden City, southwesterly winds with cloudy skies and sunshine. 12 is your high tomorrow and -1 for your morning. Still cold again. Kaikoura, southwesterly winds coming through here as well and cloudy skies with sunshine. Looking to tomorrow's weather for the rest of the region now. Twizel on 12, same with Temuka, Geraldine and Waimate. A few southwesterly winds coming in here too. Mid-Canterbury now, Akaroa on 12, same for Leeston. Darfield on 10 degrees, southwesterly winds coming through here, bit of cloudy patches with sunshine as well. Heading to North Canterbury now, Cheviot, Amberley and Rangiora all on 12 with southwesterly winds. A few cloudy patches here and there, Oxford on 10 degrees for you. And heading to the Alpines, Lake Tekapo, 3 degrees is your high, another cold one. Looking to the upcoming days now for the major centres. Timaru, you're on 12 for your Saturday with a bit of the same thing for everyone here, a few cloudy patches and sunshine. Heading to Sunday now, we can see a little bit of rain for Timaru and Kaikoura. Southwesterly winds for Kaikoura as well, but northwesterlies for everywhere else. To the upcoming days for South Canterbury, we can see northwesterly winds, a few cloudy patches and rainy skies. As we head further north though, the sunshine is coming out. Great for your Saturday. Looking to Sunday now, a similar picture here with northwesterly winds and a few rainy patches coming through. Similar picture for North Canterbury as well and southwesterly winds. So as you can see for the next coming days, the southwesterlies are set to come through, bringing with them a little bit of rain, so don't forget your raincoats. For now though, that's your weather update for Thursday.
And that is CTV News for Thursday. We leave you with some footage tonight of the Aurora Australis captured in the Alpine region this week. Good night.